In all of my life experience, 68 years, even though the first five are probably not really cognizant of, but in my life experience and in listening to a lot of stories from clients, I found there are about five things that contribute to a sense of balance in your life. And those five things are spirituality, a enough time with yourself, enough time with others, routine, and change. And so I'm going to explain some of those things while I knit. So, and what I'm working on is a baby bib, so I'll include the pattern at the end of that. And as I'm speaking, you'll see the video of the knitting. I'm working on one now. And you will, if you want, you can read about the pattern and how to knit and do that sort of thing while I talk about finding balance in your life. So I hope you enjoy this. We'll see how it goes. So the five things to bring balance into your life are spirituality, time with yourself, that would be meditating, reflecting, enough time with others, because we need that for perspective, having routine in your life, and having enough change to make life interesting. So the first on the list is spirituality. And people sort of define that in different ways. I look at spirituality as being able to connect with God. I am a born-again Christian, became one at the age of 16, and had a very dramatic, life-changing event, which I've never, ever doubted in all of my years of living. So however you might define spirituality, there's one thing to consider, that we are essentially a spirit in a body. It's the spirit that gives us life. And if you want to read more about this, there's a great set of books by Watchman Nee, and he talks about the spiritual life. Essentially, when you think about spirituality, it is whatever means you use to help nourish your spirit, to help nourish that life-giving force within you, to encourage yourself, to motivate, to help, how should we say, bring a bit of exuberance into your life, joy. So you want to consider your spirituality, and that's an important aspect. The next thing you want to think about is having enough time for yourself. In our fast-paced society, it seems like we don't often take enough time to sit down and reflect on our life. We might think about our past because it sort of creeps up and bothers us, and that would be sort of the negative events in life that are, irritating you in some form or fashion. But having enough time for yourself can mean meditating and contemplating where you want to go in life, what you want to do, thinking about what tends to encourage you, what tends to motivate you, what helps you get up and get going every day. You want to have enough time to think about these things quietly on your own. So I always recommend at least 15 minutes in your day where you can perhaps meditate, just quietly think on things and reflect a little bit. And by that, you can gain some understanding of self. And the more you understand yourself, the easier it is to make plans and to accomplish your goals and move forward in life. And the easier it is to bring a sense of joy into your life and satisfaction, value, and meaning. As I share this idea about taking time for yourself, I'm reminded of a mom who had 3 young kids, none of them at school yet. And what she used to do is she would take all the toys out of the playpen and set herself inside the playpen, which is a boundary, a visual boundary for her kids to know that Mummy's having her quiet time. She's having some of her alone time. That was kind of a funny way to do that, but it accomplished the goal for this English lady. Another one was a lady who had 10 kids, and she was like, how do you find time for yourself when you've got 10 kids roaming about? So what she did is she took her apron, sat down in the kitchen, and she would fling the apron up over her head. And that was the visual signal to her kids that Mommy's having some quiet time. Now, initially, kids might sort of peek under and have some fun and laugh, and what's Mommy doing? Is she playing hide and seek? But eventually, the kids will learn that this is Mommy's time, and you leave her just for 10 or 15 minutes, or maybe just a few minutes to start off with. But I thought those were two unique ways of finding time for yourself, especially when you've got little kids around. The next element in finding balance in your life is having enough time with others. Now, I'm very melancholy, introspective kind of person. I really value my alone time. So, this idea of having time for yourself is very easy for me, especially since all my kids are grown and have children of their own. But what I need to do to bring balance into my life is I need to make sure that I have enough time with others. So that could be getting together with a friend, socially, just getting out and doing something that involves me with other people. The value in that is that it does cause you to reflect on your own life. Think about any time somebody says, yeah, I was on the train, it was really crowded, and I was trying to get to work, and, everybody was pushing around, and we're in this COVID thing, and how are we supposed to avoid COVID if we're bumping up and, with everybody else on the train? When somebody mentions something like that, it makes you think about any time that you're on the train and you're bumping shoulders with other people and you're wearing a mask or not, depending on what time of life cycle we're all in, whether it's COVID, COVID up, COVID down, whatever situation we're in. The point is that somebody will mention a topic and it causes you to reflect on any time that you've been in that situation or not. Maybe you're thinking, I'm lucky. I can drive my car to work. I got free parking, not packing. And you don't have to think about a train and jostling about and so forth. But again, the point is that when somebody else mentions something in conversation, it does cause an internal reflection. And with that, we gain a sense of perspective. And sometimes with that perspective, we might decide to make some changes in our life. Okay, routine. And I think routine, just the word itself, is pretty self-explanatory. In other words, we have an immediate understanding of what routine is. We, at a very early age, start off with routines. Our mother gets us onto an eating plan, feed the baby, eat, sleep, poop, and so forth. Routines with toiletry and all the things that we learn. We learn how to walk and run and ride our bike, and all these things create routine in our life. As we progress through life, we have school, hopefully for most people. And, we learn all the rudimentary things of life, your ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, multiplication and all that stuff. All of these things create a sense of balance in our life by giving a sense of stability with the routine. That's what routine does. It gives you that sense of belonging, that sense of being anchored, that sense of stability. And that's important. And here's the thing. Sometimes when something disrupts that routine, that's what causes us to be upset. Maybe you've been living in the same house all your life and your parents decide, okay, we're moving to another town, another city. And that's a huge disruption to your routine. And don't forget that we also have resilience. We have this ability to bounce back, to make adjustments. I've often complained that in society, I rarely hear enough speaking, teaching, or books even on how resilient we can be, just exactly how we can adapt. People talk about modified food, genetics, and modified genetics in our food and so forth. But we still have that ability to adjust. I'm not saying that all those adjustments are good. And the whole food issue and modified genetics is a whole other subject. But think about the fact that we do have that ability to adjust. So whatever way that you can create a sense of routine in your life, grab onto it and hold it. For example, one routine I have every morning is I take some time to have quiet meditation time and I write in my journal. And that's a routine that I can have no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm on vacation, whether a landlord comes by and says, okay, we're selling the house, you have to move, whatever the disruptions might occur in my life, I still have those routines to anchor me. So think about routine because it gives you a sense of belonging, steadiness, connectedness, and stability. And it contributes to, thinking about this, your sense of feeling okay. Okay, here comes my favorite part, and that is having enough change to make life interesting. If all of life was about routine, get up, go to work, come home, have dinner, watch TV, go to bed, have a good sleep or not, get up, go to work, and so forth, or maybe you're retired, so you're waking up, wondering how the day's going to go. Your routine is kind of slow, perhaps, or maybe you're engaged in some volunteer work. So either way, you have some kind of routine in life. And the way to make life interesting is you do need to have some kind of change. Okay, so some changes are kind of natural. Some of them we bring into our life purposely, and other ones happen unexpectedly. So my husband and I, we do markets, not a lot, maybe one a month, and we sell soap. I actually have soap, woolen items, and wood items. So this past weekend, we were doing a market, an outdoor market, and the weather was pretty good. We set up our tent, and there was a little bit of rain, but we managed that. I had a cloth to make sure things were wiped down and nothing was damaged, nothing was getting wet. But then the winds picked up, and the wind was so strong and ferocious that it actually lifted our tent off the ground. It blew most of our stuff away. We had to scramble to try to get that picked up, and we moved it into a more covered area where we had a little more protection from the wind. Change is sometimes an attitude that we take on. Let me explain. We can look at life as being an adventure, especially if we're going to engage in something different. So we're bringing in that change. We are purposely bringing in change. And we can look at it as an adventure. So on that windy market morning, I had said to my husband, look, the weather is kind of iffy. We're not sure what we're going to get. But either way, this is an adventure. And we looked at it as an adventure, and we rolled with the wind kind of thing. And for a while, it seemed as though the wind was winning, but when we moved into a more covered area, which was part of the market venue, then we had a little bit more protection, and our adventure changed. It's great when you have control over that change, like you decide to go camping, or you travel somewhere, or just go out for a country drive, maybe go somewhere different to eat. But when weather brings in a change, and that's so unexpected, then you have to view it as an adventure. Well, you don't have to, but if you do, it can just change how you feel about the whole set of events. So the final thing, change, is doing something fun for yourself so that life is not boring, so that you can switch it up and engage your interest and add a bit of joy and value to your life. That's the kind of change I'm talking about. So, in summary, we've got enough time with your spiritual life, enough time for self, enough time with others, enough routine to give you that sense of stability, and enough change to make life interesting.